Showers wipe me out.
Right.
Once I'm clean, I have to sit down for a little bit. Then I'm ready for my favorite time of the day.
Why does every episode have to begin so wild? I mean, listen, boom, bam. How can my man say, I've just had a shower, I've done everything, it was hard, it was a chore, but now it's time for my favorite time of the day. And you know when someone says that, you know exactly what they're talking about. It's their first meal of the bloody day. Honestly, man, I don't know how people's mindset can grow to be like that, you know? And I never want to know, personally, you know what I mean? I never want to go through the experience of thinking that food is going to be my favorite time of the day. Don't get me wrong, there's times when, you know, you could go out somewhere and you might be starving because you haven't eaten nothing in hours, you know, because maybe you got stuck somewhere or whatever, and you get home and you're like, oh my God, food has never felt so better. Food has never felt better. That's different, you know what I mean? But to wake up and be like, yeah, now it's time for my favorite time of the day, because when somebody says that, that means every day this is their favorite time. This isn't a case of, oh, I'm starving and today's a day where food is just my best friend because I haven't eaten in like a minute. A drink is my best because I haven't eaten in like a minute. That's, you know what I mean? Like, you see the differences between the two? It's wild how, you know, we can get to this point where some people have that in their head. It's a madness. Let's just process that this is my man's first meal of the day. Man has got 12 wraps. 12 wraps. First meal of the freaking day. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm looking at this. I remember when I saw this when I was doing when I was recording this for Patreon. Because obviously that's where we do the reaction for the full episode without having to pause it because we don't have copyright stipulations. If you dig what I'm saying, link is down below in the description. But how can my man be sitting there with four wraps? That would be generous, wouldn't it? That would be so much better if it was just 4 wraps. Man has got 12 wraps. 12 wraps. And do you know what's crazy as well? He hasn't even left the kitchen counter. Man made the wraps and then decided to stick around to eat them where he made them. That is the most wildest part of it all. Like, fudging hell.
I cooked for the kids or for the family, and when I cooked, everybody just got to serve themselves. And now looking back, I do think that that was a major thing because...
Here's the thing. They grew up poor. And the family never knew when the next meal was going to be. So whenever the next meal did come, brothers, sisters, they all feasted. So if it was like Taco Tuesday and they got a bunch of tacos, everyone was just going ham. Everyone was going in for those meals. And it's crazy because I understand that when you're in a position where you don't know when your next meal is going to be, you're going to want to eat as much as possible. I completely get that. And this is a problem, I guess, with coming from a poor background. Coming from a background where food just wasn't there all the time. And then when you finally get food, you don't know what to do with it. It's like people that come from a poor background that don't really know what to do with money when they get it. And then when they finally get money, they're like, what do I do with it? And then they just go crazy with it. You know, and these are some of the conversations that aren't really spoken about, aren't they, really and truly? About the effects of being poor and then having the turnaround of then actually having money or food. How people can then go overboard. Because what happens is in your head mentally, you fear that you may go poor again. You fear that you may never have a meal again. So therefore, you want to eat as much as you can or spend because you're panicking. That is one way. Meanwhile, with me, I'm like the whole opposite. You know, growing up, I mean, you know, the crazy thing with me is that I didn't even grow up poor. I was made to believe, and I think maybe black people may be able to relate to this. I can only say black people because I'm black myself, you know what I mean? Other people may be as well, but coming from, should I say African people, to be fair, you know what I mean? But coming from an African background, it's crazy because my mom was a nurse, stepdad, mechanic, engineer, and I was made to believe that we had no money, right? Meanwhile, we obviously did. Because, you know, the job title says it all, right? But some African households, they just be tired as hell. They be tired as hell with their money, but then when you earn money, they want your money. It's a madness. My point being is that for me personally, I then grew up with the mentality of, when I get money, I don't want to spend it. When I get money, I just want to save it. That's it. Like, honestly, for me, I've had a long journey of having a fear of actually spending money. I hate spending money. I've had to convince myself, manipulate myself in the past 2 years, maybe, shall I say, to understand that it's okay. Spend money. It's okay. Treat yourself. Treating myself was a thing that I haven't done for so many years. You know, I'm like, it's okay, just do it. It was a long process, but I got there. You know, because I started to understand that, like, as long as I'm working, I'll always have money. My thing was like, I always neglected that. So it's just crazy here when you look at the situation here where this family suffered because the kids never knew when the food's coming. Well, Chris suffered the most, shall I say? It's a madness. And
For instance, if their sister didn't eat all her food, I'd say, okay, I'll give it to your brother, or whichever wants it. Well, that's something I shouldn't have done because I think that's part of the thing that he doesn't like to throw.
well, obviously she continues by saying he obviously doesn't like to throw away food, and then that's the crazy part. Chris even talks about how if you didn't eat food now and you left it for later, it wasn't going to be there later, but everybody was hungry. So therefore, you had to eat your food as fast as you can. You had to eat as much as you can in that moment in time. I can't imagine what damage that can do to someone's mind, you know. I mean, I can, to be fair, on a financial aspect, but again, like I said, for me, I'm the other side of the scale. You know what I mean? While other people on the other side, I'm so grateful that I am on the other side of the scale of panicking about spending money rather than being a scale of, oh, I'm just going to spend it because, you know, whatever. I've got it now, so I've never had it before, so let me just splash it out. But yeah, it's a wild one.
They're kind of mixed. There's a part of me that's excited that I got to see my son. I haven't seen him in a while. But there's a part of me that feels upset because I didn't realize he gained so much weight.
Now, when it comes to the story between Chris and his mother, is that Chris actually hasn't seen his mom in 7 years. He hadn't spoken to her in 7 years because of just all the trauma that, you know, that she put him through as a kid. Because, you know, as a kid, you know, he started off with him living with mom and dad, but dad was never really around, and then dad decided to then leave mom, and he left mom for another woman. And then later on, Chris and his mum then moved to another state, and then mum met a new guy. And then when my mum met a new guy, things just got worse for Chris. You know, so much that we fast forward to a point where he decided to stop talking to mum. But also in that time, though, he did manage to meet a woman. He met a woman, obviously, you know, they had the time of their lives until, well, sadly, Chris's weight became an issue. And because it became an issue, that's when she pretty much decided to leave him. Well, I mean, it doesn't go down to the it wasn't as brutal as that. There's more context behind it, you know what I mean? So don't take it literally like that. But like I said, I have done the full reaction on Patreon in case you haven't seen the full episode yet. If you dig what I'm saying, again, you can obviously catch in the logistics of what went down with Chris and his baby mum. But with that being said, obviously Chris and the girl he's with had a child. I just spoiled that a second ago by saying baby mum. So Chris does actually have a daughter. But it's crazy because Chris's story is so wild because he has a daughter now. But then, of course, he's not with the baby mum anymore. But the baby mum is now with a new guy. But Chris has now become close friends with the baby mum and the baby man's new partner. And also they have a kid too. It's a very bizarre dynamic. But either way, though, at the end of the day, in that process, Chris just never had communication with his mother. But now, because he's on a weight loss journey, he decided to contact his mum because he actually needs someone to take him to Houston and stay with him. And obviously, this is him and his mum obviously having that conversation right now. And hence the reason why she's so surprised about how big her son has got in the last 7 years. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, man, it's crazy how life works. But I will say this, though. I'm glad that his mum came back for him. Well, his mum, no, I'm glad that he opened his heart out to his mum because of how this episode goes. Very wholesome. Well, let's get into it. When you're having that conversation before heading off to Houston, and you're talking about how you're going to lose all that weight, and you're talking about everything that's motivating you, but then all of a sudden you're seeing my man there with a big bowl of spaghetti. I don't know if it's meatballs in there or whatever, but can we just process that this guy right now has got, I don't know how much milk is in, I don't know if that's a gallon. I mean, we don't have those in the UK. So obviously anyone from the States or anyone from a country that has those type of milk bottles, you know exactly how many liters is actually in that. So he's going to have a whole bottle of flipping milk, then a whole flipping bowl of spaghetti. And then on top of that, as you can see, he's also got a whole bunch of bread, and also some butter as well. I mean, honestly, the thing that really baffles me the most about people on this show is that they know they're on the journey to lose weight, but yet they'll still eat as much as possible before that journey. It's just so jarring, man. Like, at least, why can't no one just get a head start? You know, get a head start on your journey. It's a say the bloody word. It's a why am I always trying to say words that I can't say? Conundrum. Okay. It's a calamity. Let's just go with that one. As you can see, he's now made it Houston, and he's a whooping 620.1 pounds. That is a lot, man. That is a lot. It's crazy though, because, you know, one thing that I always say with Chris is that I wasn't too sure how much he was going to weigh, to be honest with you, because he doesn't look like he was going to be in 600s personally. But I feel like, this is evident that weight hits everyone different, you know? Some people can be 600 pounds and look like they're 700 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, the way weight sits on everyone it is fascinating that weight is different. You know, and obviously these are things that are determined on height, and I can only imagine determined on so many other aspects as well. But obviously he's lucky because I believe he hasn't got lymphedema. So he's fortunate in that regard. But he's got one hell of a gut. But hey, man, let's continue.
With food and I enjoy eating is because I'm alone. And the only way to not be alone is to break those habits and be able to get out and do things until I can learn to control my eating habits, which is what I want to do.
Like, you know what? I tell you what I really like about Chris and really respect about Chris is that Chris is someone that's had a long time to think about these things. And you can tell that he's really deep in the fact that he already understands his issues. He already understands his relationship with food. He knows why it's there. It's just that he's now in dire need of the tools to help him lose the weight, because in life you can know things and you can understand things, right? People say knowledge is power. Here's the thing, knowledge isn't power unless you're going to use the knowledge. You know, at the end of the day, there's a lot of people in this world that have great amounts of knowledge, you know? And I won't lie to you, like, somebody can come up to me and tell me the knowledge, you can tell me some great advice. Two people could come up to me and tell me great advice, right? But am I going to listen to the person, and they both get to say, two people could come up to me and tell me great advice, and both their advice is exactly the same. But am I going to listen to the person that's actually put the advice in play, or the person who hasn't even bothered using it themselves? For me personally, you know, I always say preach what you say, right? End of the day, for me personally, if you give me advice that you are not following, I will listen to it and I will have it in the back of my head. But I'm going to be more motivated to want to use it if you use it too. You know, that's the grand scheme of it. You go to a gym, and you know, are you going to go for a personal trainer that you can get two personal trainers? Both of them have the same amount of experience. Both of them have the same results for all of their clients. They match for match. Are you going to pick the one that's in shape and the one that actually put it into play, or the one that is just skinny like a twig and you're like, you know what I mean? Or even the one that's overweight, because obviously you can get personal trainers that are in shape and the ones that are out of shape too. More or less, you're gonna go with the one that is in shape. You know what I mean? You gotta present the product before actually trying to sell it. You know. But and that's my point here with Chris. Chris is someone that knows the knowledge. He's got the knowledge, but he now needs to find a way to use it. And I guess going to Dr. Now was the way of helping him in that way, because I guess he had the knowledge, but he didn't have the tools. And Dr. Now, I guess, has the tools. Let's find out.
So we'll check you back in 2 months and expect you to lose 80 pounds by then. And if you do that, then we'll consider weight loss surgery for.
So a man like Chris has got 2 months to lose 80 pounds. Question is, does he get there?
But I find ways to stay active. So I gave up playing any video games where I'm sitting for a long time, and I got a VR unit. So
you know what though? I respect this. Anyone that plays games will know exactly what I'm talking about here. But anyone, just in general, I think this is something that should be respected. Why? Because you see, he knows that playing games and sitting down is one of the reasons why he's not mobile enough. He knows it's one of the reasons why he's put the weight on. So I like the fact that he has used something that was, I guess, against him to be for him. So instead of sitting down and playing games with his fingers, he's like, you know what? Let me get a system that allows him to play the games on the move. At least if I'm moving, at least I'm burning fat. To be honest, I think it's a great idea. You know, and to be fair, it's something that I would do myself, because I'm one of these people who says that, like, if you love something, but you know it's not good for you, how can I make it good for me though? And if I can make it good for me, I will make it good for me. If I can't, well then I guess I've got to get rid of it. It's as simple as one, two. You know what I mean? It's crazy though, because a lot of people, something that isn't spoken about is that a lot of people that go to the gym are foodies. A lot of people that go to the gym have binge eating disorders, but they go there because, you see, if I can still eat what I want as long as I go work it out. But don't get that twisted though, because these are people who already got themselves into a decent amount of shape. All they want to do is maintain it, but also at the same time they still want to enjoy those finer things in life. You know what I mean? And that is something that isn't spoken about. And it's crazy because some people say, well, why is it when I eat what I want and go to the gym, I don't lose weight? That's because you're probably already overweight, you donut. You know, these are people who are trying to maintain it, but don't get twisted though. They don't just eat unhealthy stuff all the freaking time. They obviously have a balance between the unhealthy and the healthy, and as well as exercise as well. And of course, exercise doesn't have to be the gym. It could be tennis, it could be swimming. You know what I mean? It could be anything that is active. It could be walking, going for a run. You name it, it could be that. Hey, it's just crazy how people think that in order for you to, it's just crazy people think that you have to eat healthy if you're going to the gym. It's like you do, but you don't. It just depends on your circumstances or whatever on it. That's a whole different conversation. Either way, though, I really respect what Chris has done here. You know, turned something that he really enjoys into a positive. I like this guy, man. But let's continue.
Great to see my dad eat healthy stuff.
Just one ham and lettuce?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
My dad eats lettuce, a bunch of other healthy food like mushrooms.
I do apologize. I low-key started playing this a tad too early, so I just gotta pause it just for the copyright purposes. You know what I'm saying? We've done it. Let's continue.
It makes me feel happy.
So the thing that I really want to highlight here is that in life, it is so wholesome for a child to hear his or her parents say, "I'm proud of you. You know, what you're doing is making me happy." It makes the child feel amazing. They're like, "Damn, I'm doing something that my parents really appreciate. This is amazing." But I guess what isn't maybe spoken about is how a parent feels when they do something that makes the child happy. I'm not saying these things aren't spoken per se, right? But these are things that I haven't really heard very often. I've always heard it the other way around. And I think it's amazing that this little girl here is in a position where she's like, my dad's changed his life. He's eating healthy. In fact, I'm eating healthy with him. And that's what she's doing. She's eating healthy with him. Instead of her having a different meal when she comes and sees her dad on every weekend, she'll have the same meals as him because she wants to support him. What a wholesome relationship that is. And then for her to turn around and say, "See my dad do this makes me happy." Damn. That's some deep stuff there. And I think that's something that will probably go over a lot of people's heads. So if you're someone who's got a child, if you hear your child say to you, doesn't matter how old your child is, and they say that, "I'm proud of you," or they say that, you know, what you're doing makes me happy. You know, like what you're doing for yourself is making them happy. Remember this. If you're doing something amazing for yourself and your child's looking at you and thinking, "Damn, I really like the fact that my mom or dad's doing this for themselves. Respect it. It makes me happy. I'm proud of them." Just imagine how much of a role model you are at that moment in time. So if that ever happens to you, don't take it lightly. Embrace that. Because not everybody gets the opportunity to hear from their parents that "I'm proud of you," nor do people have an opportunity to hear from their children say, "I'm proud of you." That is a rare thing. That's not a thing that everybody gets. So if you've got that, every time you hear it, embrace that. Hey man, let's continue.
And Dr. Dow told me to lose 80 pounds by today for my goal. So that means I should be down to 540 if I met that goal.
Man like Chris started off at 620. He's now at 656. No, sorry. He's now at 566, okay? That is good. I mean, obviously, he was meant to lose 80 pounds within the space of 2 months. He has lost.
Your weight is 566.
All right. Good enough for me.
He has lost 54 pounds. Obviously, he's shy of the rest of the 80. But at the end of the day, the fact that he's going in the right direction is key because it means that the scenes that we've seen so far haven't been, show. He's actually taking this seriously, which is great stuff. Continue.
Fasting for 5 days in a row?
Mhm.
So you're going from overeating to not eating anything?
Well, I wanted to kind of give myself a reset.
So Chris has been eating 5 days within the calorie deficit of 120 of 1,200 calories. But then he goes the next 5 days fasting. That's what he's been doing. And that's why obviously my doctor now was like, "Oh, so you did this." And you know what though, like I don't know if that's going to be safe at his size, but Dr. Now does say to him, "Okay, I like, obviously that you want to get to your goals as quick as you can and you really want to push it, but I recommend you do intermittent fasting. At least, go 16 hours without eating and then eat something rather than, doing 5 days, because that will work out better for you." So, and I definitely agree, but that's wild though, man. A cast member that's come on here so hell bent on, reaching his goals that he even fasted at the same time. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, there's nothing wrong with fasting. I done it myself before for 3 days. It was very good reset and whatnot. But I think, 5 days is a stretch. But either way, though, man, Chris is determined, and I think that's what matters, right? Like I said before, Dr. Nash told him, do intermittent fasting instead. 16 hours and then boom.
Your weight is 525.
All right, better than I thought.
So as you saw there, obviously he's come back again, and my apologies. Doctor Now did approve Chris for his weight loss surgery in the previous one, but at the same time, he did tell him to lose an extra 30 pounds before then. As you can see, Chris ended up actually losing 41 pounds. Phenomenal stuff, you know, because obviously he really wants to get those goals of, you know, getting that weight loss surgery.
Or maybe I was getting it too soon. And so right before the surgery, I got to where I decided I didn't want to move ahead with it. I called and told Dr. Now that.
So despite the fact that he was approved, Chris, just like Mark did, I think about 2 weeks ago, he has decided to not go for the surgery because he believes he can do the full journey by himself. He believes that he can do the full journey without having the surgery because so far he is mentally strong and he's going in the right direction. And also on top of that, he's got his mother and his brother also joining him on his weight loss surgery, because it happens that them two ended up actually weighing themselves as well after Chris's last weigh-in. And because they were so happy with him, they thought, hey, let's weigh ourselves. And since then, the whole family has actually been on a mission to lose weight together, which is absolutely phenomenal. Honestly, this is wholesome content. This has been one of the most wholesome stories I've seen so far. You know, obviously my days of watching my 600-pound life. But yeah, right now Chris is not doing that surgery. But let me remind you though, when Mark did it, when Mark refused to have the surgery, he started to plateau. He started to only lose little bits. It literally wasn't going well for him. With Chris now, let's see how that worked out for him.
Okay.
I have a goal to lose another 50 pounds by the end of next month. So
Yeah, 50 pounds is the goal that he's set himself to lose. Let's see how it goes. But Dr. Now did say to him that if you start to, as long as you're still losing weight, I will still allow you to have surgery in the future if you decide to. But if you start to go backwards and you start to put the weight back on, well, then your surgery is a myth. You're never going to get it because this is your chance. As you can see, he may not got that 50, but he got a whooping 44 pounds. He literally started off this episode on 620. Now he's at 481.3. I mean, like I said before, man, when Mark said he wasn't going to have surgery, his numbers started to plateau. Chris, on the other hand, his numbers have continued to prove that, you know, they've continued to decline, which is good. It's very good. But it makes me wonder, though, was Mark really still dieting at the time? Or was he still actually eating and just didn't want to admit it? And because he knew he was eating in reality, he just didn't want to have the surgery knowing that he wasn't ready for it. There is that there is that part of it. But anyway, let's see what happens next with Chris.
My whole goal when I started this was to come out here and to get the tools I needed to lose weight. I thought that surgery was the only thing that was going to help me do this.
See what I mean about knowledge being power? Knowledge is not power if you don't ready to use it. But at the same time, knowledge is not power if you don't have the tools to use it neither. And sometimes the tools can be motivation to use the knowledge. It could be anything. But for Chris, it was to have the tools that he didn't know he had. He thought that surgery was the only way. So that's why he was looking for it. He was looking to get as much help possible for him to get to the point where he could have surgery. But now he realizes that he doesn't need the surgery at this point in time, and the tools that he has are completely fine. Well, then why would he want to get surgery? I mean, I'd be the same. If I've been given the tools that I can now use based on my knowledge, and it's working for me, why wouldn't they have surgery? I like the fact that he's been open-minded to the fact that, listen, man, I can keep going. Keep going. And his numbers ain't lying. His numbers are not lying to the slightest. I mean, listen, man like Chris is inspirational. You know what I'm saying? Not to me, though, but somewhat. Actually, no, his mindset is, he's inspirational to me too, to be fair. Yeah, man. Shout out to you, Chris.
So I know I need to lose 34 pounds this month. And I think I can do it if I cut back even more on portions.
Now, this one is a worry, though. Obviously, Chris is he's gone a little bit too extreme, and when you go a little bit too extreme, it can trigger you to go backwards. I really hope that Chris, finds the correct balance for himself, because he's already doing the fasting, you know what I mean? And I don't really think that he really needs to cut back that much, but I understand what it's like. When you're hell-bent driven to succeed in something, I can understand why you would take certain measures that really you shouldn't be making. So, I can't fault him for wanting to do that, but he definitely obviously needs to be careful, you know what I mean? Because you just don't want things to go backwards. I mean, look at it this way. It's important to enjoy the journey, but it's also important to not force the journey. Let the journey just take you where it needs to take you, right? But then again, during the journey that you're gonna have hiccups, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna learn from certain things, you're gonna da. So I guess it is all part of the journey, learning, what he should and shouldn't do. So yeah.
I don't need a mom like I did when I was younger, but just being able to talk about things with her and Dr. Paradise, and then having my mom here to support me, that's gone a long way in helping our relationship.
There's a lot of us, me, myself included, who have broken relationships with our parents. Some of us have an opportunity to still go back and to make things work. Some of us, we just see it as a dead end, me, myself in particular. But if you're one of those people who don't see it as a dead end and you feel like you can, make things work again with your parents, 100% you should do it. So with Chris here, him and his mother, Chris went to see a therapist, Dr. Paradise. Obviously, the doctor now recommended it for him, help him on his journey to keep going, so he doesn't go backwards. And during the conversation itself in particular with Dr. Paradise asked for his mother to go through. And the reason being is because the thing that Chris spoke about the most is that he's always feeling alone. And, that feeling he has of being abandoned, feeling alone is due to his mother. But also at the same time, Chris obviously had the courage to contact his mother after 7 years to obviously, see him throughout this journey. And obviously it's really helped them both to reconnect and to be amazing. It's crazy because Chris never said anything negative about his mum. He literally spoke about her. He said, listen, my mum is an amazing person. It's just that responsibility just isn't her thing. She finds it very hard to stick to anything. And that's obviously one of the reasons why they fell out in the first place. But either way, though, it is wholesome to see that his mum's back in his life and she's helping him with his journey and also has joined him in the journey too, as well as his brother, And also at the same time, he's got a daughter as well that loves him to bits. Honestly, Chris is lucky because he's got a circle around him now of people who are looking out for him in the best way. And he is, I wouldn't even say that he's responding to it well. He was ready to respond to it well. You know what I mean? Which is a difference. There's a difference between someone who needs people around them to give them energy so therefore they can respond compared to someone that's already there to respond. Does that mean that it means the work, he's already started the work before it? You know what I mean? This is awesome. Yeah.
Right.
Look at that. Chris has lost an extra 99 pounds. This guy don't stop. He's living proof that Mark was definitely cheating. You know what I mean? That's why he didn't want the surgeries. He knew. But this guy here, right here, come on, man. Come on. Don't mess about with me out here.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Look at that. Total weight loss of 238 pounds. That is exactly what he has done so far. And I believe this is space of 11 months, I think. But don't you just love to see people win? I mean, I do. If you don't, then I worry about you a lot.
I wake up, I'm no longer forcing myself to eat healthy. These are natural decisions now.
Well, you're doing what you need and staying on track without a surgery.
So I like what he said there, man. Like, everything that I'm doing, I haven't been doing this just to get to the goal. I've been doing this because I want to make it part of my lifestyle. I want to wake up and just want to do these things. I love that. I feel like he's talking about me, man. That's me. I wake up and I just do my things. Wake up and go to the gym. Don't even think about it. Get there, do what I gotta do. Don't even think about it. Come back, eat what I gotta eat. Don't even think about it. Actually, that's a lie. Sometimes I think about what I'm gonna eat. Sometimes when I feel like I want a little something, I think about it. But when I don't want a little something, I don't think about it. I just have what I normally have. Whatever healthy stuff that I have. I like this guy, man. He understands. You got to make it into a lifestyle, not into a chore, not into a hobby, not into a job. Make it a part of your lifestyle. Even into a hobby, to be fair. That can die out too. If it's a part of your lifestyle, then it's a different ballgame. But Dr. Now still insists that Chris may get to a point where he will plateau and he will need the surgery. I mean, listen, I'm no doctor and I'm no surgeon. You know what I mean? Who am I to go against Dr. Now? But end of the day, I know if I was in Chris's position, I would keep going until the wheels fall off. But even when the wheels fall off, I probably would still be stubborn enough to believe that I can still keep going without surgery. You know what I mean? And right now, Chris has proven that, but of course, when it gets to it, the good thing about it is that he will have the surgery if it gets to it. But right now, he's going to keep going until the wheels fall off. And you know what? Only admire that. Respect.
The tools he can get to stay on track. But right now, he's doing great, and his defying statistics. He has shown me he's one of the hardest.
Something defying. Dr. Now had to admit it. He had to admit that Chris is actually defying the madness here. This shouldn't really be happening, but he's doing it. So you know what? Let him do him. I'm gonna be here for him if he needs me. Respect that. So after the 12 months, this is the total of what Chris ended up losing. 265 pounds. And he now weighs 364 pounds. Started off at 620 pounds. Dr. Now even came out and said that Chris is the most hardest working patient he's ever had as well. Let's give this man a round of applause. That's all I have to add. Please, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, the whole shebang. Peace.